I'm talking like we're talking like a normal conversation. You know that the the stream can't hear us at all, like not even one bit.
Oh, this is awkward.
Yeah, I'm still using my hands. I'm acting like we're
Yeah.
doing gestures because some of the chat said that he's going to learn how to lip read. So I'm just tricking
Okay.
him, and I'm really interested.
Yeah.
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 Oh
It's
wait, they have.
very
Oh great. So for that bit, they actually did hear us.
okay.
Yeah, great.
S-
I'll
So,
do a quick wrap up of what we just said. Basically, we just said we're extremely excited. Welcome to the Bandit October Showdown. I hope you're all looking forward to see these matches at least as much as me and Alan are, or Alan and I.
yeah. Yeah, and we will have the semifinal match of the Atlantic Kraken versus the Step Bros. We haven't seen either team, but I know that the Atlantic Kraken took out a team I bit know about with
Mm,
YE Sports Titan. They're a
yeah.
good team. So I know at least so Atlantic Kraken are in that diamond category we are
Mm.
in, and they did show now up that they could be one of the teams I would have suspected go a bit further, but sometimes that's how the matches are since we're playing on one day and it was a best of 3 in that case. So if you lose 2 matches, you're out of there, which is not the case right now. We are in a best of 5, so there are a few chances for them to go further with this one.
Yeah, because both these teams, they both won by a 2-1. As you just mentioned for the Krakens, that was the same case for the Step Bros, who we're also going to be seeing against the Krakens. And it's not like you're rolling these teams with a 2-0, like in the other area of the bracket, which is going on there, just for a little insight of what's going on. So these two teams, I wonder what's going to happen, because if one of them beat them 2-0, they probably would have really hard rolled the team that they would have. I'm finding it hard to explain, Anna. But what I'm trying to say is, whoever wins this one, they're going to be a dominant performer in the rest of this tournament, especially on that other side of the bracket. I'm just waffling at this point, Alan. Cure me.
Yeah. Of course that could be the case, but we don't know the strengths of the specific side of the bracket because sometimes there are tournaments where the unfortunate roll of the dice kind of puts the harder teams in one bracket and then one dominant team is in the lower bracket and then kind of get the faster pace through, which we don't know about because we don't have a big overview over the teams, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I feel like since we are in the diamond perspective, I feel like most of the teams should be in a similar vein, and I feel like a lot of the strategic and how long the teams have been together will be one of the bigger points that will decide how each team rolls around with this tournament. For example, I think a team that's been long together could have a bigger chance than, for example, a team that just put themselves together last week or something like that.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you're sort of bringing up that coordination, maybe a bit of synergy going on, and that leads us to what team comps do you think we're going to see? Because we did talk about this a bit, but the audience didn't quite get to hear that. So Alan, repeat your opinions, so the audience get to know what's on your mind.
I think we're going to go with probably the dive style. So we will have a Winston and a Zarya most of the time. We could have a Diva, for example, sometimes jumping in and out because Diva helps a lot with the dive. She's not the strongest character right now.
Mm,
We could also have, if a team doesn't feel like very secure with the dive or feel like the opponent's dive is too much for them, they could go for the Reinhardt Zarya, which is a staple in Overwatch for as long as the game kind of exists. Then
yeah.
we then we could have the wrecking ball jumping in and out sometimes if there's a player who can really do that with that niche pick, which is a possibility all the time. And then for the supports, we'll probably see a more Lucio kind of style. Mercy could drop in and out
Mm.
depending on if we see a Pharah. That's how I would see right now how the meta will kind of jump around.
Yeah, yeah, I think we're definitely going to see some variation of dive, hopefully at least at some point. I am sort of leaning more towards that double bubble style, but you'll never know what's actually going to happen in practice because a lot of these diamond teams they like to play sort of what they're more comfortable with. So if they've been scrimming a ton of brawl, that is what we might see, and especially because the starting map is going to be Busan. In Mecha Base, Brawler isn't a bad comp to play at all. So what comps do you think are going to come out in particular on the starting map, Busan?
Mecha base, as you said, probably the brawl comp. I would probably think that it could be a May Reaper as the DPS combo because
Mm,
the May, of course, causing some somebody off is the perfect way how to get your advantage out of there. And Reaper loves close combat fights, and
Mm,
with the tanks being straight up in his face, especially Winston, where the Reaper does have a sort of advantage over with just how he normally is supposed to work, could be a really
yeah.
interesting point. Then we do have the Moira who would be helpful there, but Moira's been dropping off a lot lately, I feel like, so there could be a Mercy in there. It's with the supports, it's a bit of an opener vision than what we could see, for example, on the mecha base spot than for the tanks or for the DPS, for example. And then, of course, center. I think we'll see at least one Widow and probably a Pharah somewhere jumping around because Pharah
Yeah.
loves that open space quite a bit. And you can't forget the environmental kills that a Lucio and a Pharah can rack up for their team.
Yeah. Yeah, it will definitely be, interesting to see, for certain. Because yeah, um, I did talk about earlier, during the section which the audience didn't quite get to hear, I really think that we're gonna see a crazy good hit scan player, and that's probably the only thing that's gonna shut down a Farah at this sort of, tier of play, and if you don't have that ridiculously insane level of, hit scan, it's gonna be hard, especially, if the Farah's pretty good, if the Farah's practiced it, have some good synergy, it's gonna be unstoppable.
Yeah, that is one point. But the funny thing is, I think always a Pharah is a good option, but then I'm thinking about something different as well as we will go over the rosters for a moment.
Yeah, so, I'm seeing on the Kraken side, I don't know whether people are in order. Oh, it's right up on screen,
Yeah.
it's right in front of you.
So
Um, yeah, this is interesting. Hmm.
so we
I
have
don't know these
Helios.
players very well.
No, no, but we can kind of go over it. So we have Helios and Criminal on the tank role. Heim and
Yeah.
Sam are on the DPS role. Jix and Bio S7 on the support roles for the team of Atlantic Kraken.
I think I know Helios. I think I can remember him from some other tournament, and I think I remember him being pretty good at Rhine and Winston. We'll see whether that holds up here in the October showdown, though.
Yeah, that could be a point. And then we have for the side of the Sepros, we have Deep Plasma and Blue Cow on
Oh.
the on the tank role, Hater and Blue Dog on the DPS roles, and Mick and B and Lord Zelron on the support role. So
Oh.
they at least have a Lord, so that could be something that could help them quite far in this tournament.
No, speak of Lord Zalron, I think I know him. Like, I've heard his name across the realms of all the different platinums, and I've heard rumors that his Ana is pretty strong. So we could be seeing, instead of playing that Moira, playing an Ana in that form of brawl.
Oh,
So
and that is actually quite good, I gotta say, because an Ana, especially with this kind of brawly comp, throw in a healing anti-nade, and then you have almost the half of the enemy team already purple and have an easier way to burst them down.
yeah, and bursting them down. That's just what I want to see. I want to see some, really major, massive plays. A 6K barrage after a 6K anti-nade got lobbed
Mhm.
in, and everyone's
Yeah.
antied and everyone dies. That's what I want to see, and that's what we're
Yeah.
gonna get, Alan. That's what we're gonna get. I can imagine it already.
Okay, and that is going to be great. And of course, as we already mentioned once before, we do have Bisan. I think maybe
Yeah.
it went under during the hole where the audio was an issue, but
Oh yeah.
anyway, we have Busan as the first map, so it's going to be an interesting situation to go about. And one character I still
Mm.
want to highlight for example, City Central would be Echo. That would be actually an interesting pick. Then you can get another
Oh
tank in there and have more chaos actually in that one, which is not
yeah.
a thing we can forget actually.
Do you know what I want to see now? Now that you brought that up, I want to see both teams play Brig, and I want to see an Echo copy a Brig and two rallies on the same time going off, and just everyone's just slapping each other. Okay, I know people are now going to start complaining, but I don't know. It just popped
Yeah.
into my mind, and this place, it's going to be chaos. It's the October showdown. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and we're slowly ramping up here, so any last words you have before we actually head off?
Just the fact that I'm so looking forward to this. We've got some amazing casters here for you, under the names of Najik and, of course, the legendary Killer Miles. So over to you two, Nick and Killer Miles.
Thank you so much, Duck. Thanks, Allenville. And we are so excited to start getting into this October showdown. we've got the Atlantic Krakens taking on the Step Bros on Busan, and our fantastic desk has covered a lot of the possible compositions, but once we actually get into the game, we'll see what they're inkling to run.
Well, and I was surprised to hear some of the ideas, especially from Duck, like an Echo copying a Brigida. What is going on there? But thinking about it just made me realize I kind of want that to happen too, especially on a map like Busan. The stage with the big drum in the middle is very suitable for a Brigida, especially a double Brigida or even a quad Brigida, if we look at the entire match instead of just one team.
Certainly is. That AoE healing line of sight is so powerful, especially when you can hide behind that natural cover in the middle of the point, because Brigida's shield breaks so fast now, but if you're able to duck around a corner, you can get away scot-free.
Well, and now we're slowly joining into the game, and I will actually see what is going to happen. But to be honest, I can't say a whole lot about what is going to happen, since our desk covered a whole lot of the possibilities, and we don't know any of the played heroes just yet. But I'm assuming, with just the knowledge of a strong Ryan on the side of Helios, if that is actually correct, that we'll see that one come out, especially as, again, on this close quarters map we're starting off on.
There's always been a pretty strong Ryan bias on this part of the map, just because, well, there's not a lot of high ground to control, but that's not stopping Step Bros, who appear to be running a sort of somber dive composition with Reaper to follow up.
Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil it just yet. They could be debating us. It happens more than often, and it's happened to me a little too often. But yeah, it kind of does look like it, and we can already see now Atlantic Kraken also switching over to a more dive-oriented. So maybe we'll see a classic good old divey dive, and it does look like it. But the difference is in the DPS roles. Of course, the Ashe and the McCree are a bit more long-distance poke, while Hater and Blue Dog, they're running that close distance. They want to hack and then immediately catch the hack and target off.
And Helios has to play this very careful. If they get hacked up and then anti, it could be game over. But right now, this Reaper, it's doing so much work. Step Bros pushing forward with Blue Dog at the front of the ship. And well, these tanks cannot survive. Winston down, D.Va demeched, and that's Atlantic Krakens going back to spawn, because you cannot initiate without your tanks in this meta.
Yeah, and they're lucky they got the D-Mech at the end there, because the Plasma died last, so if the D.Va's mech were to survive, they could immediately re-engage and take them while there was no Winston. But right now we should just be looking at the Ashe of Heim, who's looking down the sidelines for a damage boosted headshot. Of course, against all squishy heroes, that is a one-shot, one-kill, but currently he's being denied the sidelines.
And that huge dynamite is going to get them up to 97% in their ultimate. Bob going to be in play this fight. Quite both DPS ultimates for the Atlantic Kraken, so opportunity to get 1 or 2 picks, a lot of zoning. But it's really hard to push forward when up close, Step Bros have the clear advantage.
Well, and it's weird, because I normally don't like a Lucio Moira with a dive, because, well, the lack of range of Moira and her being forced in bad position, but it's working out really good.
And now the Nano Winston Helios jumping right on top of everyone, but the Coalescence nullifies all that damage. Nano Winston does a lot of damage, but not quite enough. Death Blossom in the back as Blue Dog tries to get a pick, but finds nothing, booped away. Helios finishes it off with a meaty slap. And now Jix gets the res off, and Atlantic Kraken's looking strong. The picks coming out, and with the damage boost up onto that Ashe and the Valkyrie in play, there's not much Step Bros can do to stabilize. The point will flip over to the blue.
Well, but Atlantic Kraken did invest almost everything. They have nothing left in the bank. Maybe, Criminal is quite far. I thought he still had to remake to self-destruct, but that's about it. While on the other side, there's a double dive tank, or there's a double ultimate for the tanks, which makes diving very easy. You can, of course, use both Primal and self-destruct as sort of a second life, and then you still have the EMP available for entrance.
Now, this is a bit of a poke up top. I don't think they're going to use the EMP quite yet, especially as you lose Nick. No mercy on the side of Step Bros to get the res, but with Jix going down, no res on the other side either. There's the EMP, 4 people caught in it, and both DPS on 1 health. Barely able to survive, but Bios is down. There's no healers on the side of Atlantic Kraken, so it's just chipping away. This Tesla coil cutting through the entirety of the Krakens as they're forced to retreat back to spawn, and 76% on the board as Step Bros get the retake.
Brutal of a stagger on Criminal there. no chance to jump off the map, no chance to remake, and that's just time down the drain. Because, well, now you need to hurry up very, very fast, or you need to re-engage without a diva, and those are not very good. They're gonna choose for the no diva option.
Helios does have Primal Rage, so not going to go down that easily. And crucially, Lord Zelaron, they're antied up. The Coalescence barely keeps them alive in the end, but Blue Dog able to win the Reaper duel. Now the tanks have a lot more to worry about on the side of Atlantic Krakens, playing inside Helios' bubble, but it's not going to last for long. There's the Death Blossom from Blue Dog, finishing off the Mercy, so no res in play, and this is looking bad. They almost had Valkyrie. That was their big chance to get back in this fight. But as Helios falls, stalling on top, it's getting harder and harder to stay alive. Sound barrier now, so no kills going to come out for Atlantic Krakens. And the Sombra will beam them down with Step Bros going up.
I'm gonna criticize Atlantic Kraken for a little bit, because I really don't like the Ana play of BIOS. It seems like BIOS is playing very, very far forward in comparison to most Anas in kind of a divey composition. Because, well, if we look at the team fight right after Atlantic Kraken, well, switched the point over, BIOS was almost in the front line, and now we can already see the switch-ups coming through to Mirror of Lucio and Moira. Well, probably because they want to go for that close range damage, or sorry, healing. And, well, BIOS is not cutting it on Ana. So now we have a more mirrored comp. The only difference, of course, is the Widow versus the Sombra. So Atlantic Kraken is putting a lot of faith in Haim just popping off on the Widowmaker in comparison to a very team-coordinated dive with the hacks from Hader.
And you certainly need to have that faith. And Haim trying to take those pot shots now, but it's the ground front, not really a dive, more of a Winston rush comp, as both teams sort of brawling it out on the point, Goomba stomping each other, but no kills just yet. Blue Dog falling low as the micro missiles focus them down, but they're able to retreat back to their team. Both teams poking, playing a little bit of neutral, trying their best, but Helios eats a couple meat shots to the head, and they will fall. No mercy this time to resurrect them, and with Criminal hacked up, there's no damage mitigation for the side of Atlantic Krakens. This is exactly how the first fight started on the other map. No tanks on the field for Atlantic Krakens. There's one DMech for the Step Bros, but that's about it, as Blue Dog will clean up the supports.
And I'm gonna call that Haim honestly needs to switch from the Widowmaker. Of course, the ultimate is almost available, so you could use that first. But still, there were just no sidelines in the way Step Bros were playing, which is, on their part, very, very smart. They were just hiding around the corner on point the entire time, giving no sidelines at all. And now Haim, with the infra side, just can't find anything to shoot at.
Yeah, looking for that Sombra who cannot go invisible to get away, even though they are trying to. So Helios found Hader out of the fight. Without that hack in play, you have a big chance to use all of your ultimates unmitigated. Sam just using a zoning Death Blossom. They'll fall, but not before finding Nick and B. Now a counter Death Blossom out from Blue Dog. It's a little bit bigger. It's creating a little bit more space. 3 ults for 3 kills on the side of Step Bros as they hold on to the point.
And I'm honestly wondering if Atlantic Kraken don't have their headsets turned on, because, well, it was pretty obvious, or not obvious, but obvious if you have ears, that the Reaper of Blue Dog was just teleporting in the backline and no one turned around to check it. There was no defense matrix, nothing to kind of mitigate that Death Blossom damage. And eventually that kill from the Death Blossom was the thing that's crucial. So now Atlantic Kraken are coming back in with some ultimates, but Hader's looking to shut it all down.
Hader has a big EMP, but not before the self-destruct is used. Criminal finds Deep Plasma right away. It looked like they tried to get aggressive to follow up on that EMP, but they left themselves completely open to the bomb. Now it's a 4v6 on the point for Step Bros. They've got to commit both support ultimates just to keep themselves in this, but Blue Dog falling lower and lower, just barely able to escape with the Wraith form. Atlantic Krakens, they've got a stable hold, but they need to get more kills now or else they'll fall. Lord Zelaron taking out main healer is out of the fray for the Step Bros, but there needs to be more. Step Bros are arriving back to the point with their ultimates. The self-destruct on point, zoning them off, 99%, overtime ticking away. They need to find these kills soon. They're investing so much, they need value out of this fight, or else they're going to go down 1-0 in this series.
Well, and you called it. It all went downhill as soon as the Moira died. And, well, basically, I was spectating Lord Cell, or sorry, not Lord Cell, the other Moira, Obios, and I was spectating them, and they were just standing basically in the middle of nowhere, nowhere near cover. And well, that's a good way to get yourself killed. And well, losing your Moira in an early fight or in the late fight is not very good for your team. No heals means, well, no sustain.
Yeah, I agree. And especially when you're playing such a brawly composition with a Reaper, in fact, you need heals, because one little mistake, one little misstep out of your barrier, out of a D matrix, is half your health. A headshot from a Reaper, that's meaty. So you gotta keep your healers up, but it's very hard to do that with Winston D.Va.
Well, and you could see it as well. Every time Helios stepped in front of Blue Dog the Reaper, immediately half the health was just completely deleted. So that's, well, very good defensive play from Blue Dog, I would say. Playing that defensive play style to make sure there's no dive able to come on in, and protecting his backline.
I agree. And now Atlantic Kraken, they've got the map pick, so they're looking to sort of counterpick that. I don't know if they want to go for the mirror again, because it didn't work out great for them. I have to wonder if maybe Atlantic Kraken do not have a Sombra player, which could be crucial right now, because Sombra v Sombra, you play a lot around rotating ults, around EMP. If you don't have that, then you're relying on picks of some sort to win the fight.
Well, and during that Busan map, Sam was rotating around in all sorts of heroes. We saw him on the McCree at the beginning, and then later switched over to a Reaper mirror. And then at the end was even playing Mei to kind of go against the dive and the Sombra play, and none of it seemed to work out. So I would even say just go for some drastic matters. Go to the Pharah, go play a pharmacy or something. Do something different, because this is not working right now.
I agree, and now we're going to go for probably a different composition than the Winston D.Va rush comp, because we're going into King's Row, home infamously of the Brawl composition. I expect we'll see some Ryan Zarya, but Double Bubble is prevalent at times.
Well, and King's Row, I say it every time it pops up in a game. It's one of my favorite maps to play, but one of my least favorites to cast, because every single time we watch King's Row, there's nothing new to say about it, because it gets played literally every single match. But yeah, the Ryan Zarya, it is the home of Ryan Zarya, and I wouldn't not be surprised if it gets pulled out, especially not by Atlantic Kraken, because, well, they're not looking very good right now. They're not in a good position, they're 1-0 down, and it wasn't a close first map. So switch something up, go for that Ryan Zarya, and remember, they are the pickers of this map. They chose to go to King's Row, so they probably have some sort of strat planned for it.
Yeah, this is probably a bait from Step Bros, already switching off a little bit, but Atlantic Krakens cannot switch, they're on the defense, so we know they're going for this double CC DPS comp with McCree and Mei. Meanwhile, the Ryan Zarya Classic is up on the front.
What do you mean it's a bait? Of course they're gonna run out with Bastion on attack. No.
You never know, I've seen it before.
Well, I mean, these aren't GM players, but they're not that bad. I mean, well, looking forward to the defense though, Atlantic Kraken. They are running out with Sam on the Mei again, just like they finished Busan, and Blue Dog is already taking countermeasures to it without even knowing, going to the Pharah. But don't forget, Heim is still on the McCree, so kind of a counter there, and it's going to be a fun little game between those two to watch.
Blue Dog playing the sightlines, rotating around this hotel, not getting too exposed, so they can just keep layering on splash damage. Already halfway to their ultimate, that's how much they've chipped in. Shield from Helios already growing a little bit low, so they decide to back around the corner, so Blue Dog can push a little bit more forward, but they eat an Icicle. So they are still playing this very passively, but they already have Barrage. Again, that's just how much damage they've done. This is a very early, unexpected ultimate, so it could get a quick pick. One down already. They zone everyone off the point as well, create space for Blue Cow to rush forward with their laser beam, demolish the rest of the Atlantic Krakens as Step Bros take the point.
Well, and I was really surprised to see Step Bros take it quite easily, because, well, they're running the Mercy to pocket the Pharah, so no Lucio, and a counter that's used very often against the Mei wall is that Lucio speed boost, just speed the walled off player around the wall to get back to the rest of the team. But somehow Step Bros play around it differently than doing that, and without the follow-up onto Deep Plasma, he he's able to live, and then Blue Dog with the damage boost is able to farm up a very quick ultimate. And look, they're already 1/4 of the way to getting another one. While on the other side of Atlantic Kraken, they're only just now coming up on their ultimates. They just now have a nano. So they need to use it very, very wisely, or otherwise the street phase is going to be very quick.
Nano and Shatter is an opportunity to win the fight, but the Valkyrie will make it very hard to get follow-up on that Shatter, so you don't want to go for it, especially when you're hacked up like that. No shield on the side of Atlantic Krakens as they try and stabilize. The Shatter does come out, only catches one Hater, who is just safe with their team as Step Bros continue rolling forward. That was a very unfortunate fight as Atlantic Krakens used 2 ultimates for pretty much no value.
Oh, and I really, really dislike that Shatter, man. It's you use it in a questionable fight, like maybe you can win it, but probably not. And then you use it in a situation where the only one that's able to follow up is the Reinhardt himself. So the rest of the team isn't there, and now they're not even going to be able to touch, so they need to fight on this third point into a combination of EMP and Grafton Surge.
Oh, and a 5-person EMP, and crucially, both people with ults are caught with it and taken down. Zarya and Mei out of the fight. Your 2 sort of ways to slow down the approach of the Step Bros as they continue to be dominant, almost in their spawn at this point. This is looking bad for Atlantic Krakens.
And don't forget, Blue Cow didn't use the Grafton Surge, so now with Blue Dog coming up on the Rocket Barrage, they can combine it just like their names are almost similar.
Ooh.
Well, they're not going to wait.
There's the big combination that Atlantic Krakens had. Blizzard into Graviton Surge, freeze everyone up, is good for a second, but the Coalescence just keeps everyone alive, and now Step Bros are rolling in once again. They've got the Hammer, Deep Plasma, they've got the Shatter to stop this ball from stalling too long, but go for the charge instead, missing it a little bit, but the Barrage is there, that ball is hacked up, there's no way to swing around the point. Now Barrage just zoning people off, enabling you to eliminate people so fast. Zarya getting charged up, Blue Cow at 100% more or less, Bob's on the point, but not really touching it, just barely contesting 0.45 meters away. Bob not able to find any picks as the healing is too good from Step Bros. Additionally, they still have the res online if something is really bad. Helios goes for an optimistic Shatter, once again only finds one person, and this, with Moira getting hacked up, it's harder and harder to keep this stall going.
Well, I mean, at least they're getting good time down, but the focus of Step Bros doesn't really seem to be there, but with just the sheer manpower, they should be able to get it over the line. There it is. But yeah, the stall, it was close to a minute, I believe, with just the time bank getting drained, and now Atlantic Kraken, they're on the attack round. I think they don't want to mirror this again. It's, yeah, it just seems like they're outclassed on everything they play in a mirror, so maybe try something unconventional, go against what they are running. If they're running Ryan Zarya, go maybe bubble dive or go full dive and play something different. But then again, if you do that, they're just gonna mirror you again, and we have a repeat of Busan just on a hybrid map. So I don't know. They need to step up their game individually, I think, to just get that mindset going and be more positive, and just let that give you some momentum into this match.
I definitely agree, but the issue is, who do you really isolate and try and take out early on the Step Bros? Because Hater has been amazing, always hitting 5-man EMPs. Blue Dog on the far was so oppressive, and Blue Cow up in the front was always high charge, always getting those crucial cleanups. It's really hard to pick who you focus here, who you dismantle on the Step Bros.
I agree, and most of those heroes also have some sort of ability to get away from you. We saw the Atlantic Kraken earlier run the Mei, but look at the lineup on the top right side. Every single hero can get away from the Mei, except for maybe Lucio, if they don't have Amp. But now they're coming in with a Rhine Diva, taking us back to stage 1 of the Overwatch League this year. Yeah, and I think it is the right call. The Reinhardt is strong, maybe the Diva can do something good. Finally eat something away from Blue Cow and not give them so incredibly much charge.
Heim has taken this high ground position, overlooking the point, overlooking the little corner where the Atlantic Krakens are trying to push into. And Hater going around the back for a very optimistic flank. Have to use Wraithform to get out, but they're still pushing. Trying to chunk down a tank, but not allowed free access to them like they were on Busan. But with that huge anti-grenade onto Deep Plasma. It's an opportunity for Atlantic Krakens to stabilize. They lose their main tank too, and one more. Still have a possible fight, but Atlantic Krakens, they've got to back out.
I don't know. Did such a big anti. You force Blue Cow to use their self bubble and Deep Plasma goes down, but somehow you just kind of collapse on yourself and they die because of it. But now they have a chance to push in, especially now Nick already used Amp to get the Reinhardt back again. And with him switching over, or Heim switching over to the Tracer, the shots weren't hit on the Widow. Maybe this is a little better.
BlueDog using the wall to try and keep Helios away. That Nano Round is very dangerous, but that doesn't stop Hater from falling. The Shatter comes out to try and stop a follow-up on the Blizzard, but it's too big. BlueDog caught everyone in that. Isolate Helios once again, and the sound barrier is there to prevent anyone from getting bursted down in the back. Everyone can heal back up to full. And with that, there was no way to get any more kills as the Atlantic Krakens, 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock, put something together.
And that's clutch from Mick and B as well. He realized Lord Sauron was not able to heal his team because he was split off and distracted by the D.Va. So they used the sound barrier to save everyone, since there are not any big ultimates that could go against sound barrier, and then they could come back in.
Ooh, that's a clean fight using the Graviton Surge. No way to mitigate that. Jix had the sound barrier, but it was looking... They had already lost one person. They didn't want to use it, so just taking the reset there.
Well, and then back again we go for another replay, and honestly at this point I think the only real chance of Atlantic Kraken taking first point if Criminal gets like a 4-man self-destruct, because well, the rest doesn't really seem to be working. But at least they have the ult advantage now. But BlueDog again has a freeze.
Sam tried to use the concussion blast to get someone into the self-destruct range, but not gonna work. Hater antied up though as they go for the Death Blossom. They find bios before they fall, but it's an opening. An opening might be all they need, but the Blizzard is there. The problem is the Atlantic Krakens, anytime they put together a successful attack, they take too long with it, and the Step Bros already have the ultimates to counter it.
Wow, and I think Jix had a bit of a questionable ultimate right there. He just used both Amp and B-Drop to counter the Reaper Death Blossom without even knowing where it was. And then he didn't have the Amp to speed out of the Blizzard, and he didn't have the Sound Barrier to counter the Earth Shatter. So a bit of a misplay, I would say.
Sam looking to combo this Shatter with a barrage, but 2 ults committed for 1 kill on your side, with Sam eating a left click from Hater. Now, this Pharah and Rhine out of the play, the 2 main ways you're trying to zone people off the point. Heim maybe looking for some sort of 1 click, but this is looking desperate. 13 seconds on the clock, and this is not looking good.
This is all over. Atlantic Krakens can't score their first point just yet. It's a zoning Deadeye. Okay, they may have a chance with Heim getting that kill, but they need to be very, very quickly.
Yeah, the surprise 1-click and Deep Plasma falling very low. The bubble is the only thing between them and death, but their healers are too good. Zelleron is able to keep them back up. Unbelievable. Deep Plasma still in this fight, and so is the Blizzard coming out from BlueDog. This is a big opportunity. Deep Plasma against all odds survived, and they came back to eliminate Helios with a charge. Atlantic Krakens, they had a big chance there, but the ultimates are now coming out for the Step Bros. Nothing on the side of Atlantic Krakens as they're forced off the point. Overtime ticks away, and the Step Bros go up 2-0 in this series.
Well, and now I'm seriously questioning the target calling or the shot calling for the side of the Atlantic Krakens, because if you could look at the last fight, the Zarya was all alone and isolated for the majority of it and quite low as well, and no one was following up on that, except for, I believe it was Sam, who was poking in a little bit of damage, but just not enough to get the kill there. And if they could have gotten the kill on the Zarya, they would be 6 versus 4 up, and they would have surely taken the first point.
Yeah, it was... They had a big opportunity there, and yet a lot of the issue was... I talked about how Atlantic Krakens didn't seem to have the ultimates when they needed them, or they didn't use them right. Heim switched, I believe, around 5 times in just that attack. So
Yeah.
They never had an ultimate online, unfortunately.
Well, and also just adding on to that, every time I was watching Heim play, I was a bit cringing, honestly, with just whiffed shots and with abilities in total. And I think just the difference in DPS is such a big factor of why Atlantic Kraken are right now losing.
I definitely agree. If you've ranked the DPS from 1 to 4 here, Hater and Blue Dog are obviously 1 and 2, though it's debatable which one is more valuable. I mean, Hater has brought a lot of utility to the team with their amazing Sombra play on both maps, but Blue Dog, they've swapped around a lot. They played the Reaper, they've played the Pharah, and both of them have looked magnificent.
Well, yeah, you really hit the wow, you really hit the nail on the head there. Because Hater on the Sombra has been phenomenal, and then Blue Dog has been the heavy hitter with just finishing off every single hacked target or just low target in general. But if we look at the supports maybe from the Step Bros, they've been very very strong as well. You were talking about the Rhine just not dying in that last fight on first point for the side of Atlantic Kraken. And I think largely to credit that are those supports Mick and Lord Celron.
Yeah, that was amazing coordination right there from Step Bros. Almost every single supportive ability they had was committed onto Deep Plasma, and that was what won them the fight in the end, because Deep Plasma, they got bursted down so fast, they were on pretty much 50 health, then the bubble went out, then the healing orb, then Moira used all of her juice on him, and Lucio came with the amp. It was everything they needed to keep Deep Plasma in the fight, so they could protect them long enough to get the Blizzard out, they could finish off with a charge. It was everything they needed to take back that point when it looked like Atlantic Kraken had it.
Well, and that's the difference as well. Every single time I see someone on the side of the Kraken drop low, they don't have the same amount of support. They just go lower and lower, and then the healers start pumping resources in, and then they just crumble. They're not doing enough in time, and then they crumble all around it.
Now, Atlantic Kraken, they've only really looked good when they got like a surprise pick due to an unexpected play. Like, I honestly think in a straight up fight, they're not going to be able to take the Step Bros. So, what do you think the Atlantic Kraken can do to try and bring this fight game back?
Honestly, at this point, just go cheese. Just go Symmetra or Thorpe or something, because I think that's your biggest shot at actually winning at least a single point in this game.
I agree, but that cheese composition usually gets countered by the coordination we see on the Step Bros. So it's really a toss up on whether that will actually work to bring this series back.
I think it's the only thing they've got going for them. They're not winning the mirrors. They're not winning their comfort comps. Maybe they need to do something different. They need to do something crazy, and catching the enemy team off guard for at least a single point, and then you can go back to something you're better at as soon as they are adjusted to your weird Bastion comp.
I agree. Heim was really the main person switching it up, but just constantly pulling out counter comps and weird comps might be the only way to keep Step Bros on their toes, because otherwise it might be a little drastic. I mean, they couldn't win the Brawl duel, they couldn't win the Winston Rush comp duel, so they don't really have a lot going for them.
Well, something I was wondering, basically, since Busan, that has come up a little more now. You're talking about the Winston comp. They were playing Winston Diva Dive, but they were playing it like a brawl. Normally, if you want to brawl with, say, a Reinhardt or an enemy Winston, you're gonna want the Zarya with that. You need that bubble protection a lot more than you need the defense matrix protection. And then you play a lot more divey if you're running the Winston Diva, because both those have a lot of abilities that are very mobile. But Zarya doesn't have those. You play brawl with Zarya and dive with Diva, and now they were playing brawl with Diva, and that just doesn't work.
I certainly agree with you there. While I do think at this level of play, comfort picks are the most important, at the end of the day, those little optimizations like running the Zarya over the Diva could enable Atlantic Krakens to take it home.
Well, yeah. I think we're gonna look forward now to the next map. The short break we had while we were talking is over, so we're looking at the next map, which will be Rialto. If I just look at my screen right now, yeah. And what do you think? What are you looking for at Rialto?
Well, we've already seen a fair bit of Pharah from both teams, but I'm looking more towards Blue Dog, so I've got to expect we'll see that again. Rialto is occasionally a sniper's paradise, but I'm mostly thinking the Pharah.
Well, and the thing is as well, I really like the option of Pharah you're presenting. We have not seen the Pharah v Pharah duel just yet. Every single time Blue Dog was playing the Pharah, the enemy team were on hitscan heroes. So maybe now with an open map like Rialto, we can finally see the Pharmacy going up against the Pharmacy, and both those get tested on just their raw skill.
And taking those raw skill duels might be the best option. Like, occasionally when you're not winning composition duels, that's what you gotta do. Because even if you're not winning every fight, if you can get enough picks, if enough people can win enough duels, occasionally the mirror can go your way.
Well, yeah, but then you're fully dependent on personal skill, and with how inconsistent these teams are, I don't see them going very far if they are fully relying on skill of a single person.
I do agree with you there. It's the Step Bros really do have the edge in the skill. One thing that might work, I just realized we haven't really seen different compositions from these teams. It's always been more or less a mirror with some DPS switches, maybe an Ana thrown in instead of a Moira. So, do you think that if the Atlantic Krakens go for a more counter comp against whatever, probably a dive comp that the Step Bros are going to run, do you think it'll work?
I don't see it working, because to dismantle a dive comp, you need the good coordination, and Atlantic Kraken haven't shown any coordination, let alone good coordination. So maybe if you're going like Roadhog, Reaper or something, and then play extremely defensive, let them dive into you, and then shred them with your close range abilities, it could work, but only if Criminal, who probably will be playing that Roadhog, is really popping off. But then again, Roadhog isn't very strong right now. He got the nerf recently. He's not very good.
Yeah, I do agree that Chain CC might be the way, because that was the meta for a long time, and it's still quite powerful. CC in general, no matter how much you nerf it, it's still going to be a vital gameplay mechanic.
And just go full CC. Pull out the Brigida Ana, and then go Reaper McCree, and every time they move towards you, just stun them until they can't even see their own eyes anymore.
Yeah, that essentially guarantees you one pick with all that, but once you commit that many resources into one person, can be a little shady. Now, we're going to be getting into the game soon enough. Rialto coming at you first. The Step Bros on the attack.
Okay, yeah, well, it's unfortunate kinda for Atlantic Kraken that Step Bros are first, because, well, of course, they're probably going far. If we look at the previous maps, Step Bros on attack have been strong. If they go first, they're probably going at least 2 points. They're at least gonna take 2 points, and then the Atlantic Kraken has to fight all the way there. If they go first, they might have like a good push or something, and they're all psyched up for the rest of the match. But now, with the probability of Step Bros taking it far, I think their mental is gonna be even more boomed.
Yeah, it could be a little bit tough. Once again, putting a lot of faith in Heim to counter Blue Dog on this Pharah. Last time Heim was on McCree, so not that easy to do with a Far Mercy as a solo McCree, so hopefully they're betting on the one-shot potential here. It's still going to be very tricky though. Blue Dog is very good at playing sightlines, playing corners, making sure that they're not just sitting there for Heim to shoot.
Well, and don't forget, they're not confident taking the Pharah duel, but they are confident in putting Heim on the Widow, which he has shown on Busan, and frankly didn't look good on Busan. It was a couple of body shots and like one headshot on the teleporting Reaper, but that's about it. And then don't forget, Deep Plasma and Hader, their heroes are very anti-Widow, even if you're playing the brawly kind of dive with the Zarya.
But Heim's able to find it anyway. The headshot on a Blue Dog opens up this fight. No Pharah in the sky, and you gotta get aggressive to prevent the res as Atlantic Kraken's pushing, but Helios is antied up. Lord Zelron slips that grenade through, and there's no cleansing bubble for them. as this is looking a little bit bad. I'd say a main tank is a little bit more valuable than a Pharah, as Heim is desperate to get another pick. Alright, now.
Well, and the thing is as well, it's a bit of a misplay from Criminal there that Helios gets taken out so early. And again, there's just no bubble for the antis.
Yeah, they're using it a little too early, a little hungry for energy. Sam, though, able to find 2 quick picks, almost stops the res, but Lord Zelron back up. So Sam now losing the Tracer duel as they go for the Mega Health Pack. Heim with a headshot onto Deep Plasma, opening this up. Another one, Lord Zelron out of the fight. It's just Mercy there for healing, and wow, Helios charging back from spawn, not able to get the kill, but displacing everyone. And against all odds, Atlantic Kraken, on the backs of their DPS, are able to hold this point.
Well, Heim just goes, I heard you were talking trash, and just hits 2 headshots and a body shot to finish off someone else as well. And with Sam basically keeping them in it by both contesting the point and getting that double kill, forcing out the resurrection, they're looking good, and they didn't invest anything. Now they're coming up on 5 check marks, and Helios is of course on the Rhine, so the Earth Shadow charges fast as well. And they're going up against, well, Blue Dog switching.
And they're going for that pulse bomb. Doesn't quite find anything, and now the Nanorine out on the field. Helios slept and woken up. The anti-grenade onto Criminal, though, gets them low, but not low enough to prevent that Graviton Surge from coming up. But crucially, they do not get the sound barrier battered into the small room by Deep Plasma, and with a huge anti-grenade once again, Lord Zelron so consistent with those. That will be Step Rose finally pushing through that hole. And
the beautiful displacement as well there from Deep Plasma with the Primal Rage, pushing everyone out of the line of sight of the sound barrier, as well as pushing the Ana away from the rest of the team, so Bios cannot heal anyone up. And that's just smart management of your ultimate. And you can already see Hader is close to another Pulse Bomb. They used the Pulse Bomb last fight as well. But now, Atlantic Kraken, they have both the tank ultimates, a lot of CC coming through, a lot of free kills, if you can play it right, because there is no ultimate to counter on the enemy side, no Zenyatta to use the Transcendence.
Yeah, really, you've gotta be proactive though. Blue Dog going in, but they don't want to get caught in the grab, so they gotta go to the back line, and luckily there's a lot of juicy targets back there. 2 for the Naked Blade, and as Helios falls lower, it's looking like 3. There's not a Tracer in the world who can clutch this out, but the DPS together might be able to. 3 kills for Heim. But Sam ends up with an unfortunate blink off the map, but they bought enough time for Criminal to get back on the Wrecking Ball and opens up so much space. Heim getting warmed up, feeling red hot right now as they eliminate red players one after another. Criminal gets a little bit too aggressive, but in the end, Atlantic Krakens are able to get somewhat of a hold right now.
But looking at that, no one was healing up the Genji, even though they were low for quite long. And now they're even switching up, and that's a huge Pulse Bomb from Sam.
Both supports out of the fight, and with no healing for this more or less rush brawl composition, Step Rose, they're on the retreat. They're not going to be able to fight at all.
Atlantic Kraken are finally getting back in the game, but now they're not looking so good. They have Criminal still on the Wrecking Ball, so no Zarya, which is crucial against, well, with the comp you're running, especially against Lord Zelron, who's been hitting very consistent anti-nades, so you're more or less relying on Heim to hit some shots, especially since there are no ultimates. Except for the Shatter. But
yeah, Helios, they have an opportunity, but with 3 bubbles in the way, it does get a little bit tough to hit it. But even if you just get 1 kill with that, that could be enough to get you the fight. That's the equivalent of a DPS getting a pick, and we've seen how the Atlantic Krakens have worked with that, but the Graviton from Blue Cow is big, catches both tanks, not able to get healed through it, and now, Heim, off the map. Deep Plasma saw how they clutched it out last time. They're like, not again, never again. It's really just Sam in the back of the point, who might be able to stall for a little bit, but the tanks do not have healers. They're antied up. Helios already almost out of the fight. The Shatter catches 1, but the Ana isn't even able to get finished off, pocketed up by Mick NB. This is looking like an
you shouldn't use your ult there. You're not gonna win it. There's no one there to actually follow up on it. And you're just wasting a pretty strong ultimate in the Earth Shatter, especially since you're not playing against a different shield tank. I mean, technically Monkey is a shield tank, but still, the Winston, it's very hard for Winston to kind of bubble an enemy Earth Shatter off. But now Heim, with the with the infra side looking for some sidelines, not connecting the shots. But still, there's a lot defensive available, and we have Helios switching over to the Zarya, which is very, very odd.
Yeah, going for the Zarya ball, a bit of a Chengdu comp right there. And Sam, they've got Lord Zelron isolated in the back, and Melee will finish them off. Mick is there with the res, and the bubble prevents Sam from getting the one clip there, as well as, you know, all of their team's damage. Hader now going for a flank around the side. They are almost to EMP.
How does Hader survive that? They just forget he was there, he messed up everything, and he still lived.
Deep Plasma with the Nano is very deadly, and right onto Heim is a good target. 3 kills already for the Step Bros as the momentum, it's a little bit too much for Atlantic Krakens to handle. Lucio almost able to get out, but shut down by a bit of electrocution from Deep Plasma.
Yeah, now they're rolling into the very end. Heim switching over to the Ashe, but there is no pocket since GX probably wants to hold on to their ultimate of Sound Barrier, which is their only ultimate, since Helios couldn't really get anything done on the Zarya, and to be honest, where could you get your charge from?
In this more close-range composition, Heim's going for the picks, but the Graviton Surge combined with the EMP could have been big, but Jix did not get hit. They had the Sound Barrier keep the Atlantic Krakens in the fight for a little bit longer. Sam able to find a pulse bomb onto Lord Zelron, but they're taken out themselves, and the res is there. So everyone is there on the side of Step Bros against this stall, and it's not going to be able to hold back the Step Bros assault as they finish Rialto.
And I get the feeling they can't really punish Mick resurrecting. Every single time I see someone die, I immediately see a Mercy fly towards it, res it, almost no trouble at all, except for maybe an occasional boof from Jix. But that's about it. There's nothing going against the resurrections, and just getting that extra tempo and extra man in the field can be very crucial.
I agree. It was a very different showing from the Atlantic Krakens than what we've seen before. The DPS have really stepped up. The issue is, for the Step Bros, the rest of them were already up. Every member of the team has been doing fantastically, and you're gonna need the DPS pop-offs. They save a lot of fights for sure, but at the end of the day, they might not quite be enough in a full team game.
Yeah, true, they had a few pop-off moments, but look on the bright side, they've already won more fights on this single round of Rialto than they did in the entire rest of the series. So maybe I saw the coach was talking to them a little bit, getting them a bit more psyched. I think that's working, and especially with kind of a decent hold. I mean, still it's a minute on the clock, but seeing as how hard you got stomped in the rest of the game, that minute can be very, very important. And they're running out again with the Wrecking Ball Zarya comp, and I still don't know why, because, well, Wrecking Ball is just going to be reliant on himself, and then Zarya needs to get their charge from somewhere, and I don't really know where.
And the Somber Reaper, very scary for this Wrecking Ball. I mean, you get hacked up and instantly chucked down. Sam going in, looking for a one clip, and they're just pressuring the tanks at the moment, trying to farm up a pulse bomb. The sleep does come out onto Blue Cal, gets them very low, but they stay in it for now as both teams just poke at each other before Heim is able to get a clutch pick. A little headshot on a Mick ND, not a Mercy in sight this time. And with 2 down, Step Bros, they're playing behind the cart, trying to keep themselves in this, stall out for as long as possible for people to get back, but the anti-grenade onto Deep Plasma will stop any hope of a stall as the sports try and retreat.
And I don't really know what everyone on the side of Step Bros was thinking, because they realized, hey, the Widowmaker is in the long alley on the right side of spawn. Let's just all walk straight in front of it in a straight line without even acknowledging they're there. And then Heim just holds one angle, clicks the left button as soon as someone pops up, and that's a free kill. And, well, the free kills can be very important in Overwatch, and now they're looking for first point take. Again.
Another pick from Heim.
Again.
Okay. I lied. Maybe the DPS popping off will be enough, especially as it let Helios farm all the way up to that grab, and a pulse bomb comboed up into it will give Sam a nice little 3k, probably play of the game, and it will give Atlantic Krakens point A of Rialto.
And look at the spawns. They can even chase down this Moira because, well, Lord Sauron spawned ugly. It just looks like Sam is going for that finish off, so Sauron is going to be able to get away with it. And now Blue Dog switching over to the McCree, realizing, hey, they're not running Winston anymore, the Reaper's not going to work. I'm just gonna do something different, maybe challenge the Tracer a little bit as soon as they try to dive onto one of my backline members. But now Blue Cow can open things up with the self-destruct as soon as that is online.
Yeah, this comp's very spread out. They have a chance, and Criminal able to find a kill on a Blue Dog with the mine is good, but the pick on Azaria is better. Helios no energy anymore, and crucially no more damage for their team. But the DPS are never to be underestimated on the side of Atlantic Kraken. Sam already finding Deep Plasma. They're just skating right outside of the danger zone, preventing themselves from getting hacked, from getting focused down by either Winston or D.Va, and they're just getting so much free ultimate charge. They're already almost up to another pulse bomb.
Well, and I love the little mind game going on the side. You see people wanting to commit their ultimates, but especially Jigs knows as soon as I ult, the hater is just gonna EMP my ass and negate everything. But that's enormous from Sam.
Sam catching Lord Zelron without the fade, so not able to drop off that pulse bomb, which probably would have found McCree anyways. The sound barrier is big on the side of Atlantic Kraken, so not really going to get bursted down by Sombra or McCree or anything, as the Helios back on the fray is able to build up to 50% charge, and I'm not really sure if Step Bros want to contest this.
I'm not really sure why they put Helios on the main tank to begin with, but sure, you do you. That's an enormous boop. Booping up Nick so he can't sound barrier in time to save his D.Va.
Yeah, unfortunate ammo management though. Heim was not able to get the thing because they were reloading, but, well, Steppers are back in the fight. They're able to just barely halt the momentum, but you can see they're playing carefully. They've got the shield up, Blue Dog in the back on the cart, because they know that DPS can always come back, even when they probably shouldn't, but they make it work.
Well, and the thing is as well, we can finally, for the first time I believe in the entire attack round of Atlantic Kraken, we see Hater hacking up Criminal, which, well, so far Criminal hasn't been hacked, so he can just roll around freely and get so much damage in. And now finally they're answering on it, combined with the McCree.
Ooh. Blue Cow very aggressive though, demeched early, and there's no one to eat that Graviton. The Pulse Bomb committed, not finding anything, and the Grav though is countered by the EMP. Hater coming out with it, catching 3. No abilities to combo into that Graviton Surge anymore, and now it's just finding this Tracer Sam hacked up, so they're gonna take the long walk back to spawn.
Wow, and I believe they used every single thing just to counter that Graviton Surge. They only have Blue Cow's self-destruct available, and it looks like Helios is walking back to spawn, going back to the Reinhardt. But honestly, I don't see Atlantic Kraken win this fight. They only have the minefield, so unless they can quickly dispose of Blue Cow, they can't really win this, and especially not with Bios being in trouble. Oh, Price Ryan.
Yes. Almost finds the kill, but unfortunately just finished off by their team, and now this is a huge opening. Without that Sombra there to hack people up, the bomb has to be huge. It only finds 1. Heim is a good kill for sure, but you need more than that if you want to stay in this fight. Blue Cow next once again, and there's nothing to stop this hold forward. The speed boost gets the Rhine back into the fray.
Oh, they slip down the side. And now boops away. I don't think... Okay, they can contest just in time.
Oh, a huge shatter though. 3 to the ground. Crucially, both supports, but they're not able to find either of them. Finally, Bios goes down, and that stall right there from the Lucio was crucial. The sound barrier had to be committed. Otherwise, Point B would be in possession of the Atlantic Krakens.
Oh, nice little charge. Yeah, I mean, you know what they say. The chance of you getting killed by an angry German with a big hammer are low, but never 0. And in the case of Sam, well, the chance was pretty high. A great charge coming through there from Deep Plasma, and now Atlantic Kraken back against the wall. They need to push quickly, otherwise they lose this map and they are sent down to the lower bracket.
And the EMP is there. 5 people caught in it. None of those ultimates. Crucially, Criminal hacked up in it as well. Jix not able to use the sound barrier. Criminal falling lower and lower. Focused down by Deep Plasma all the way in the background. Heim now on the point. They're able to find 1 with the high noon. There was 1 person not caught in the EMP, but Deep Plasma is there. They've gotten 4 kills this fight. So good at cleaning up overtime. Just not able to stay on the cart with that huge hammer there. And Helios not even able to touch as the Step Bros takes it home 3-0 over Atlantic Krakens.
Wow, and that was a very, very dominant showing there. I think they could be in this to win it, Step Bros.
Yeah, they really showed a lot of coordination. At times, they didn't measure up to the amazing DPS performance right there. The ultimate combo of the grab into the pulse bomb, always a classic since the beginning of the game. But at the end of the day, it's the coordination that wins it out. Those amazing ultimates, especially the EMPs from Hater, are what really won that.
Well, and I'm gonna ask you real quick before we get back to the desk. Who do you think was the best player? Who deserves the MVP award?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm a little bit main tank biased, but I think it has to be Hater on that Sombra. They did slump a little bit at the beginning of Rialto, but they came back big in the end, and I think that's what matters, especially considering their performance on the previous 2 maps.
Well, I mean, unlike you, I am support biased, so I'm just gonna say Lord Celeron. That both the healing and the anti-nades were enormous. Basically fight winning on its own. So definitely deserving of the MVP award for this match.
Yeah, at times it was incredible how much Lord Zelron just didn't die. Even when they were playing Ana, which isn't quite as survivable as someone like Moira, they were finding ways to just duck and dive around everything. And their co-support, Mick, was always there for just keep getting the res on the rare occasions that Lord Zelron did go down.
Oh yeah, a great match to watch, a great match to talk about. Excuse me for that little mess up. But we're going to some people who are going to talk about it even more. We're sending it back to the desk in just a second.
As
Do you have any final thoughts on this match?
only that I cannot wait to see what happens in the finals as the Steppers take on whoever takes it home in the other semifinals match. I think the Steppers have a good chance. They've shown adaptation and competency on many compositions, so presumably they should be ready for whatever mystery is waiting for them in the finals.
But don't forget all the teams we haven't seen play today on the other side of the bracket. The teams that went through to the semifinal semifinal we just played, they won their first match 2-0, while Stebros only won theirs 2-1. So I'm guessing those teams are very good as well. So I'm looking forward to see those two compete in our final match tomorrow. They do play tomorrow, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes, it should be quite nice. Overall, I think what really won me over about the Steppers is even when they're getting popped off upon, they were able to stabilize in sometimes unexpected ways. I mean, like, in 1v1s, the Steppers actually weren't winning quite as much as you would think. They were, like, for example, when Hater went to burst down the Ana, they actually lost because, well, it was a little bit tricky to burst down an Ana in the middle of their whole team, but when they were actually in a straight up fight, they were able to take it home.
Yeah, and those 1v1s where they weren't winning but winning the team game just shows how much of a team game Overwatch is and how reliant you are on your team. So remember, if you're losing in gold, it's always your team's fault. That's all you need to know right now. And with that, we're actually going to throw it back to our desk this time around because the duck is finally alive again. Thank you for watching.
Yes, so we are back. Allenville, that was a match and a half. We saw that action that I really wanted to see happen in this a lot of powerful plays coming in from the side of Step Bros. And how do you feel about that match? Because I thought it was pretty dominant on one side.
Yeah, it was pretty dominant. I felt like what I say about that? We did see them going towards the end with their different combo. They didn't try the mirror, as Nick has pointed out quite often during the match that they shouldn't go for the mirror. And as they finally went
Yeah.
for that non-mirror style, they did go quite well. Unfortunately, it was a bit too little, too late, and unfortunately for them as well, the Atlantic Kraken didn't get a solution for that one in the end, but the Step Bros figured it out quite fast actually during the attack round as well.
Yeah, it was certainly a lot closer on that last round. But those first two, there was a bit of a different story there. At the beginning of Busan, I thought it could be equal until it wasn't. How do you feel about that? Because obviously we saw the meta being played from the Step Bros at the start. Do you think that it was meta diff? Because we did see some mirroring, or do you think it was more of a team diff or DPS diff
Uh,
situation?
I'd say it was more of a team different situation because I felt like we saw them just the Step Bros being more secure on the whole setup in general, where they had their positioning in there, as was pointed out during the cast that the Ana was too far forward. It did take a few hits,
Mm,
which shouldn't have happened for an Ana, especially when you're playing versus dive comp. You don't want to be that far forward that the dive can easily reach you. And then the DPS started jumping up and up and up during the whole match. The problem was just they didn't have the point that they really wanted to go after, and that was kind of one of their big issues they had through the whole time, and especially Big Dog, Blue Dog, not Big
mm.
Dog, Blue Dog, went around, for example,
Yeah,
on the Pharah, but
there's
was
a few
sort of the
different
big
blues.
dog during the fight
Yeah.
where they did have the advantage during that one, and especially on King's Row, where the barrage was so quickly there that they had not even a minute as they went through that one. You could see that the lineup of Step Bros was just a step above what everything was brought up on the side of Atlanta Kraken, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was just gonna bring up that Farah on the Kings Row map because it was just such a dominant performance that we saw. These rockets, they just kept on going in, and as Kiddo Miles said, is they weren't expecting Step Bros to have a barrage so quickly, and it was just so quick, just coming down, allowing them to take the point, and that street phase as well. Just Step Bros just had such a powerful dominance. But let's talk a bit about the tanks. Um, how much of a tank difference do you think there was, or do you think that wasn't really a major factor? Do you think the tanks were quite equal?
Um, I feel like they in skill level saw kind of equal how they were stepping up to each other during the matchup, but the bigger problem for me was especially how we saw the mental game going around. For
Mm,
example, in the street phase where we saw both Reinhardts with the shatter, where we did then see the first shatter coming from the Step Bros, which got such a big advantage. And then you saw this kind of desperate counter shatter to stop what was going on. And
yeah.
I felt like there was always this, the Step Bros were in the whole thought process and how the game was evolving, always a step ahead of what Atlantic Kraken were thinking about, and that was such a big difference. I feel like that the Kraken just got pulled into the style of the Step Bros and just couldn't get out of that one till the end towards Rialto.
Yeah, I agree with you with every single word that you said. It was just pure facts, just a lot of facts coming there. And yeah, it was interesting to see as well how the supports played out. If we're gonna finish the trifecta of the roster, the supports, there was a bit of a support diff. We mentioned the Anna being mispositioned a lot of times, and it was different to how I expected. I expected Zedron on that Anna, but instead he played the Moira and performed pretty well. He always brought the coalescence first. Do you think that had a major impact when it came to the actual fight, or do you think it wasn't necessarily anything major?
It was a major. I felt like there was a major difference in general with the support situation there. Of course, the coalescence first is always helpful for the fight, especially when you saw later on, even during fights where there was the team of the Step Bros got caught out, for example, in a Graviton, and you instantly saw Lord Zeron pulling out the coalescence. It was just always there as the saving point. And then I gotta say, Mick, Nick, who we didn't talk much about there, the Mercy, a lot of times
Yeah.
just in a perfect position, res up one person, no contests whatsoever, and just keeping the advantage up and going. And thanks to that, they never really had a setback where they couldn't just keep on pushing forward.
Yeah, that's right. The supports just played it so beautifully, so perfectly. These tempo reses, just everything was so clean. At the start, you mentioned the team with the most experience together is more likely to win. And for some reason, I just feel like that this team had a lot of experience playing together. I felt there was a lot of synergy in play. Do you think that was the case, or do you think that they were just a fresh team but just dominant with their skill? Do you think it was more skill or synergy?
I think it was more synergy how I felt around this because the whole team was just setting up around everything. They knew when the other person was just going in, just pulling out the for example, the MP, the whole team was setting around that EMP, and that was just how they wanted to play around it. And they knew their win conditions all the time during the fights, and they just kept up. Sometimes they didn't even have to use all of the ults. For example, at the start where we saw Shrine, where we did see the Atlantic Kraken kind of throwing out every ult they had in the whole book to just get through this one. But as the fights were going on, you just saw how they were coordinating. They knew when they had to use their ults, and they were trusting each other just to get the ults out of the way.
Mm. That's right. And I think now we just need to bring things a bit more together now and zoom in on one person. Who do you think is your MVP for this match? I'm going to have to say Blue Dog.
Uh, Blue Dog is a wonderful person to pick out for that one, but I'm gonna actually go with Nick. I know who I want, the Mercy player, because I feel like that was such
Oh.
a good situation. You go in, you lose a person, you get the res out of there, just have the advantage back again. And it was not just reses that just came out there. There were crucial reses. For example, Lord Zeron fell down. Res was out. Lord Zeron was back in the game in the fight. And even I think one or two times I even saw Res coming out just to get an ult back into the game so they could hold on further. But I felt like that was just such a big part of those matches.
Yeah, for sure. I really did like to see some of that Mercy play. I still think it was Blue Dog because I think he showed more flexibility, a bit more strength in the heroes that he played. But you've been right all day, so I'm not gonna bring you down a peg. I think at some point we have an interview with someone.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting close to having Lord Zeron on there. So that would be
Yeah,
a
I
good
see.
thing to go about.
Yeah, for sure. Lord Zelron. So we saw him on that Moira predominantly, always winning when it came to the coalescence, just always outplaying, outsmarting, outthinking, just out everythinging the
Yeah.
other support on the other team. And it's exciting to talk to him.
Yeah.
So we'll probably drag him in.
We're we're going to have this soon, hopefully. So yeah, definitely Lateron did have a good position to go around with this one. And I could even guess that could be part of the shot calling, having this one of the supports shot call, especially with how the positioning was most of the time. Lateron was in a position just to overwatch the whole fight that time. And there we actually have the person. So
Hello, Lord Zelron. How are you feeling coming off that match?
Pretty good. We kind of stomped them, which is always nice to do.
Mm.
yeah, go
Yeah.
first.
Okay, so Lord Zalron, we're in anticipation. We want to hear what's going on behind the scenes, in the team you play for, the Step Bros. What's going on comms wise? What are people saying? Was there a lot of synergy going on? How long have you guys played? We just want to know it all. First, start us off and tell us, what's your comms like?
Okay. Well, I think I'll start with something else before. Just to make it clear, I'm not actually on the roster. I'm a ringer.
Ah, I see.
Well, to be fair, I've known him for a long time. I've ringed in the past, but yeah, comms were more chaotic than you might think. There were quite a bit of arguing sometimes, but we definitely always like focus this target. This one is low. Let's use these ults, which I think really helped us as well because we had some fight planning.
Yeah, for sure. Alan, what do you want to ask him?
I want to just kind of know how long has this roster been set up, because I feel like there is quite a synergy, even though, as you said yourself, you're a ringer for this team. So how do you think about that?
This team has been playing for a couple months. I'd say a good 3 months, at least 3-4 months.
Oh,
With this roster, yeah. There are some new people but they didn't play today.
Okay. That's yeah, that's interesting to hear because we definitely felt like there was a lot of synergy happening for sure. Well, Zeldron, what do you think was going on sort of in the team comps wise? Like we saw you play the meta, so was that something you were thinking about from the get go? Let's just play the strongest comp, or do you know whether the team? When you told us that you're ringing for them, do you know whether the guys have practiced this comp before?
Yeah, I knew they practiced this comp because I did practice Scrim on Thursday.
Mm.
I also said it was better for me to play meta because I'm already used to it playing it. But yeah, meta kind of suits our playstyle quite a bit. Like we like playing brawly type scumps, and sometimes we put a Rhine in if we think that's better. But a Diva and a Monkey always works as well in some situations. Blue Duck is a big Pharah main, so he likes to put it out sometimes.
Yeah.
And their radar was pretty good, so he had a harder time, so he couldn't play it as much. On our first attack, we just kind of like, well, we're already 2 up. I just kind of play what is good, what we still like. So I just played my Ana, which is my main, but isn't the best pick anymore. So I kind of had to swap after the that Tracer. It was that Tracer was really good. If Sam is still watching this, you're definitely a goat. So he was not making my life easy.
Yeah, that's very good to hear.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of know after we did see the switch around on Rialto, were the comps more chaotic as the Wrecking Ball, for example, came out and caused a bit of more chaos, as you kind of had a situation where you were suddenly on the back foot while being on the front foot during the whole fight and during the whole match up till then?
Yeah, we just thought like, okay, let's just play the meta on attack. After. Oh no, on defense, my bad. I got confused. No, we played the meta. We had a strategy. Let's just set up here, but they had so much different chaos around us. That was kind of hard to keep up with everything. It on the second point. It was still pretty chaotic. They almost got the point. I made the call to swap to the Rhine because Plasma is definitely a beast on Rhine, and we have a pretty good tempo when we play Rhine as well, which definitely allowed us to take the fight back with our tempo.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't really care about what they did. We just cared what are we using this fight. Let's just go in.
Okay. I want to hear. We did talk about the comms being messy a bit and a few arguments. I want to know whether if any of those arguments had anything to do with some dodgy shatters.
No. We're just used to that with our main tank.
Of course. So you said no thought really went into your picks. So did you not feel like you were getting countered at all enough by the enemy team?
Oh, no. We did put thought on our picks. We just played meta because it suits us and it works good. It's pretty safe as well. On our first attack, we just played more what we wanted because we were like 2-0. The other maps weren't really that close anyway. So it's just like, I want to play some Ana. Which kind of works because if the team dives, I still have the range, so I don't have to follow them around as much as I do with Moira. Yeah, Blue Duck is a Pharah main. He likes playing that. So yeah, that was basically it. Then the comp didn't really work that much because they had a good Widowmaker, so our pharmacy had to swap. And then during like the end-ish. Oh well, no. I think I played Ana the whole time, but Sam was definitely not giving me an easy time. But Mick at least was there to rest me if I was getting killed.
Yeah.
So, I think we're going to close out this interview now for a bit. So, do you have anything you want to shout out or something like that? Just want to mention some people?
Yeah. Blue Dog, you're fucking trash.
Okay.
Yeah, just a friendly banter.
Yeah. No problem. But thank you for being here. Yeah, that was a fun interview, and we hope to see you guys further proving themselves and maybe having another interview tomorrow. We'll see about that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Mm. Well, so
Yeah.
that was Seljon. What an interesting chap he is. Feels bad for Blue Dog though. Feels bad for Blue Dog. Well, Alanville, do we have any closing thoughts? What's our final things before we wrap things up into a baguette and consume it?
I think we put already the main ingredients on the baguette, so the viewers have already everything done. We've prepared everything. They just have to use that food for thought for tomorrow, since we do have another round going tomorrow as well.
So speaking of tomorrow, that's all that we got for today, and we hope to see you again tomorrow. It's been nice talking to you. I've been Caster Duck, and he's been Alanville. We'll see you next time. Am I pointing the wrong way? Oh.